Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Steelers Sanctuary podcast. I'm your host, David Barrow from SteelersSanctuary.com. And this is my co-host, David Korab, and Ron Lippock's back with us. Guys, how you guys doing?
What's up?
Doing well, thanks. How you guys doing?
Football? Good. Football is back, so it's all good, man. First day of padded practice today. God, it's good to have football back, right?
Yes.
Big news today. Joe Burrow carted off the field for the Bengals. Man, that could be huge in the AFC North. You don't want to speculate too much on an injury, but if he goes down for any significant amount of time.
They're saying it's a calf strain.
Yeah.
Oh, just a calf strain? Oh, I didn't see that.
Take him out a little bit, but not like severe. But Ramsey went down. Jalen Ramsey went down.
Jalen Ramsey went down. I guess it's not an ACL tear. He's going to have surgery, but he won't miss the season. Ramsey. I didn't see the Joe Burrow, so that's good. As much as I hate the Bengals, Joe Burrow's a fun player to watch. I mean, you don't want to see anybody go down an injury like that.
No, not at all. And it just feels good to know that Pittsburgh is going in healthy. It's like
yes.
For now.
Day one good, knocking on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood for sure.
True.
Nobody let's start with the Tomlin press conference before we get into the actual first day of practices. First thing on my list from his press conference, nobody goes on PUP. Everyone's full 100% healthy. Guys like Cole Holcomb and Allen Robinson, all full goes. That's great news for the Steelers to start this preseason off.
I was surprised. I figured they might sort of just hold back Holcomb or Robinson a little bit just to keep them healthy, and especially for veteran guys. But good to see they didn't have to.
Right.
Yeah, I was surprised too that nobody started the season, on PUP or on the sideline. Everyone practiced today, I guess, except for Minka. So, and it was just a veteran thing, no injury. So,
yeah,
that's good news. I thought it was funny. I mean, there wasn't much at the Tomlin press conference, but one of the reporters asked Mike Tomlin, how would you like to see this offense evolve this season? And the first thing he says, is, I want to see us maintain possession of the ball.
Yeah.
It's like,
now, does he mean no turnovers or win the time of possession? Right.
I think both. I think that's number 1 and 2 in his heart, in his mind, in his soul at this point.
And his soul. Yeah, his soul for sure.
He did say he wants more big plays too, to be fair.
He did say that.
So I'm holding my hopes on that side comment he threw out there.
I want $1 million. I'm not sure we're gonna get it.
But the important thing is that you want it.
Yeah. Well, yes. I guess that says a lot. If you didn't say that at all, we'd really be.
Because at least now you'll go out and at least try to buy the lottery tickets, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Basically, yes.
He did also say he wanted to possess the ball and control the game. We know what directions this offense is going. It's going to be run heavy. Let the defense win games and maybe a chunk play here or there. But for the most part, Najee left, Najee right, Najee up the middle, and Jalen Warren left, Warren right, Warren up the middle.
Yeah.
Rinse, repeat. This is what we're going to be up against. I mean, hey, maybe it'll work.
No surprises. I mean, they drafted Najee, they signed offensive lineman, they drafted a tight end who's pretty much an offensive lineman. I mean, they're not disguising anything. So
yeah, literally, it's Najee and Jalen tag team back again.
Yeah. Did you find it strange? A reporter asked him, like Brian Baldinger said, it was the most physical OTA he's ever seen, and Tomlin wanted no part of that. I don't know if that was sarcasm or
because
he get in trouble for too physical. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, you can get draft picks and big money fines if you do it wrong. And he's had issues before, I think, with that.
Didn't it happen to the Ravens last year? Was it the Ravens?
It did. Now that you mention that, was it the Ravens? It was one team that lost a draft pick because of it.
Or I can't remember if it was or maybe the Raiders. I can't remember a team.
Yes.
A team. It had happened to them. They got caught and they got, like you said, lost draft picks or whatever. They got punished for it.
Yeah, that's probably why the reaction that he gave. Like he said it like 3 times. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Not much else. They asked Tomlin about his contract, and he wow, I hadn't even thought of that. Come on.
I
know you don't.
Not buying it.
No, I'm not buying. I know you don't need money. I know he doesn't need any money. He's set a lot, but everyone, that's human nature. You think about it no matter what.
Nah, money's not an issue. Him, a straight cash, homie.
Yeah, he's done well.
Yeah, he's got no issues there. I like the line that he said he's seen more football than he will see.
Yeah.
So and that's probably very better be very accurate. I mean, I can't imagine him coaching another 20 years.
Yeah, me either. I mean, if he does, I mean, good on him for surviving that long. But
it won't all be in Pittsburgh. I can't imagine it would all be in Pittsburgh, but
yeah, I mean, they've had 2 straight coaches coach their entire career. So I mean, is there any pressure on him at all if they have a losing season or if they miss the playoffs again? Does that, maybe with fans, but probably not with Rooney, right?
I think it depends on why.
Yeah. Say this offense that they're planning goes sideways and they can't run the ball. They end up 6-11. Does that provide pressure for him in ownership's eyes? I don't know.
Like when you say pressure, do you mean like he's gonna get fired pressure, or
do they? Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. Do they not? Do they
I
let
don't
him
think
play out
he's
his
fired,
last?
but he's got 2 years left, so it's the non-renewed fire, right? Like he's got 2 years
play out his
left.
final season.
I think he's got to make a mark in the next couple of years, at least win a playoff game, or else I think then there's real legit strong debate. It will have been like 8 years or 9 years at that point. Then if he doesn't win a playoff game, that he hasn't won one, that's a hell of a stretch.
That is the longest stretch in team history since I think 1970. So
I'd have to look back at the 80s with Noel to see how bad that stretch was of him to compare to Tomlin.
Yeah,
I looked at it. We are right now in the longest playoff loss.
Yeah.
The longest stretch without having won a playoff game in since the 70s.
Yeah, since 70. Yeah.
So
oh, shit.
Yeah.
So wow. Okay.
They've won like enough in the 80s. They won like one in like enough in the scattered years of the 80s.
I think they won one in 82 or something like that, and then they managed another one in 85 or 6 or something.
I mean, they were never like true huge threats.
No.
Like they.
So
they
this is like historically bad drought by them.
Yes, at this point, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Steelers played an AFC Championship game against Dan Marino. Do you guys remember that? That was like late 80s.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
With Chuck Noll as a coach too.
I was probably 3 years old. 4? No,
Dave doesn't
I don't remember that.
Thanks, David.
I remember it pretty vividly because they ended up. I think Miami scored 42 points in that game or something. That was back when it was. No, the Dolphins did on Dan Marino hung 42 on them. I think it was 42-21 or something like that.
Damn.
I'm trying to find.
That was Chuck.
I did all the numbers. I actually did in my spare time. I did like a tweet on like the longest drought of the Steelers and looked at all the numbers. And we're in it now. But I got to think that in 2 years, if we still don't win a playoff game with the team that right now everyone feels, if the quarterback is remotely decent, that it should win a playoff game. I mean, it doesn't have to go to the Super Bowl, but oh my God, if they can't win a playoff game,
we've gotten to that.
If this does go south bad over the next 2 years, is this another one of those things where they'll be like, so Mike Tomlin's retiring, and he goes, no, I'm not, and that whole thing, or I hope we don't see that. I hope.
He'll go do TV for a year probably, and then end up somewhere else. I think he'd be fantastic on TV.
I think. I could see him coaching in. I could see him coaching in Washington. I mean, he's a Virginia guy.
Yep.
So I think I could see him there. I could see him in Carolina. That's all close, and so I could I could see him easily getting going elsewhere after the Pittsburgh. I don't think that's something that I could see him doing. Let's put it that way.
I mean, how good of a college coach would he be? He's such a good motivator. He could probably take a program.
Last time they brought that up, man, he was just like that was beneath him. He kind of got mad.
Oh yeah, that's right.
How does he circle back on that if he gets like
Yeah.
Whew.
Well,
the only way to do it is if he did like a Dion thing where he went to like an alma mater kind of school, like Virginia Tech, and said, this
Yeah.
is my school, and so I want to give, whatever. Like if you,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know how he could do that and not eat his words.
In this day and age, is it emotional? Some of those college coaches make big money. Like
Yeah.
Nick Saban isn't taking a back seat to anybody. He's making big dollars.
I just, the way Tomlin got upset about that,
Yeah, you're right. I had forgotten about that. So, yeah.
It's a
it was
clout
like
thing.
that was below him, man. Like I
I
don't know.
think it was a little bit of a racial thing, right? Where he felt like you wouldn't be asking a non-black coach that, right?
He made that
Yeah.
comment. Like, are you asking Sean Payton this? Are you asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, he threw that out there. So
Good on him, though. Good on him, because he's exactly right.
right. If they're not asking any of them that, then you should be asking him that. Period.
One last thing from Tomlin. I love some of his comments, and they asked him if this was. I forgot the top context of the question, but they asked him if this was any more exciting this year than previous years because it's Kenny Pickett's second season. He's like, I'm always on 10, no matter what.
Yeah.
I love when he says stuff like that. That's him in a nutshell. Like he's right. He's always on, 100. Omar Khan had his press conference. It was even less to talk about than Tomlin's, I think. He mentioned the Alex Smith.
The contract stuff was
Yeah.
a little bit of a I don't want to call it a bombshell or anything, but it was interesting for guys like
The
Levi.
Highsmith one.
Yeah. Well, he said after Highsmith, he said we're not doing any more contract.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I read that he did say that. I was like, okay, like so that's it, huh?
Yeah, they're done. That was interesting for sure. He mentioned someone asked about Cam Sutton, and he didn't really want to even get into it. He's like, no, he's done. And what they asked him if that was a mistake or should they have started negotiating a year earlier, and he's like, I wasn't the guy.
Yeah,
back then.
He might be pissed off. He might have thought they had a legit shot, and it just fell through.
Well, they did talk about that earlier in the season, right? And earlier in the offseason, they said that they thought they had him. And the Patrick Peterson thing was like, Peterson wasn't even spoken to 24 hours before he was signed.
Yeah.
He signed it was like, hey, who's this calling me? Pittsburgh? And all of a sudden, 24 hours later, he's a Steeler. So,
Crazy.
Yeah, they clearly did not expect to need a plan B. And so I think they were really surprised by the Sutton thing. I think, honestly, it worked out in their favor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peterson, I know, Dave.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Dave's
We'll
a little negative Nancy
TBD
when it
for
comes
me.
to Patrick Peterson there a little bit.
But I like how Peterson will shape the young guys. I like how he fits. I like how they'll be okay when he leaves because they've got sort of these upcomings. And none of this, it's not like you could plan for this, but none of this would have happened had Sutton been re-signed. So you would have had, maybe they draft Porter, but you don't have this upcoming sort of dynamic of how the secondary is going to shape out. You have something, which is, I think, is okay.
Yeah. But I agree, Ron. Like, you got a guy, you're getting two different things out of him. You got a guy that's not really been injured that bad, so he still can play at a good level, while also at the same time he's mentoring these young CBs. They drafted two guys that he can mentor. So you're getting two different things from this guy, as opposed to Sutton, who's not going to offer that kind of leadership. So to me, it might end up being a blessing in disguise. I hope it's somewhere at least in the middle, that we get decent play out of him. At the same time, we get that veteran leadership from him.
And they've got a lot of young corners. They've got not just Tice and Porter, but Luke Barku, I think, is a guy to watch out for. He's a really interesting guy that did really well. They've got guys like Riley and Duke Dawson who are still young guys that could amount to something, right? So I think there's a lot of young talent at corner. And I guess James Pierre you still have to consider as a potential guy. He's still there.
In a mix for sure. Definitely in a mix.
There's a lot of young guys that could benefit from a guy like Peterson.
Yeah, I guess if the larger point is in 2024, they could end up better off because they drafted Trice and Joey Porter Jr. and they wouldn't have probably drafted at least one. They probably wouldn't have drafted Trice if Cam Sutton was still here. And who knows if Joey Porter Jr. would have been a priority because you would have been paying Cam Sutton big money to be the number one corner. So maybe that does work out better for them in the long run.
We would not have Chandon Sullivan if Sutton left.
I can live with that.
Yeah.
I can live with that. What else from? I thought Khan had an interesting point about they asked him about the running back salary. Everyone's talking about the running back salary, but he said, well, the quarterback salaries are skyrocketing at such a rate that some positions got to take a hit.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's exactly the reason, but he makes a good point.
I like his honesty. Like I like that.
We were talking about safeties 2 years ago and how they were sort of never given their fair due. It's just the way the game's changing. I don't know. The same people complaining were bringing up the point that like Bijan Robinson just got like a $10 million signing bonus, whatever, and like, but doesn't that belie the point that we don't pay running backs? I know it's second contract discussions where they don't get longevity, but the good ones will. The elite ones will be retained if they stay healthy, and I think it sucks, but I think that's the nature of the position. I think that you're always going to have, people. It's supply and demand. People who want, elite talent at the positions that matter most.
It's so hard for me to feel sorry for these guys, though. It's like, oh, you poor baby, you're not getting 10 million like you wanted this 60 million. I just, it's so hard for me to be bad for them. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You got the job where you only make 6 million per year. Suck it up. Like
I understand. I mean, there's a lot of ego, and I don't mean that.
It's true though. Yeah,
mentality is
yeah. If you're talented, you want to get paid, and some of the running backs.
I get it. It's so hard for me to really like they're the victim here. Like I just, it's so hard for me. Like I don't know.
But to that point, if you're Saquon Barkley, and you're the key to the offense, you're the best player by far on offense.
Yeah, and that there
you're not getting paid that way. He makes a good point where he's like, I'm 30% of the offense.
Yeah,
and I'm getting paid like an afterthought. Even though it's 10 million, it's the quarterback's making 40, 50 million, and not very good. And he's having to set up
Pollard, right? And I think that's the thing. Like, Pollard has shown that. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong team.
Yeah, it's Dallas.
I was thinking,
and he's not signed either.
Yeah,
he's another one that hasn't signed his franchise tag.
So,
is that something the running backs should use as their argument? Like your top running backs, right? Like say Najee, say he's like 40% involved in the offense. Should that be what running backs should use as their like war cry, if you will, to get that?
I'm sure they've tried.
For your top running backs, be like, hey, look, I have the numbers right here. I'm 40% used in this offense as opposed to every other individual player on this team. I have to be paid this certain compensation compared to say to a wide receiver who's 40% involved in their teams. Like it's all like Tyreek Hill, right? He was the main thing for the Dolphins, right? So
the running back involved because you're elite and they want you to have the ball 40%, or you 40% because the running game says we're going to run 40% of the time.
Right.
Well, that's the difference between Barkley and Najee Harris. Like Barkley has a leg to stand on in that argument. I don't think Najee Harris does. I don't think you're going to get.
Well, I'm shocked, Dave, that you have that opinion.
Well, listen, it's just a fact. He's not explosive. He's not the guy. I'm sorry. He's just.
Here we go.
If they pay Najee Harris top dollar, I might have to quit podcasting altogether because I might have a nervous breakdown. But aside from that, I think guys like Barkley and San Francisco's running back there, those guys,
McCaffrey.
Yeah, McCaffrey. They have legitimate arguments. Like, hey,
they do. It's just without leverage. What do you
there's no leverage, exactly. I mean, because you can get someone to do 70% of what they do for 10% of the money, and that's the problem. Running backs.
Teams aren't worried. Like, let's put it this way: if it were you're a top quarterback holding out or having that same argument, teams will be panicking, right? They lead that quarterback in. Yeah. The fact that the teams aren't alarmed enough to do much about it says pretty much for me everything you need to know. They're not. Yeah, they deem them like, I think you raised a good point, Dave. Whereas like you can get 80% of a star running back with a really good backup. You can't do that with a quarterback.
No, not quarterback. Even wide receiver, you could make that argument. Like the top guys, you can't replace them.
Pass rusher. So I mean, they placed a value on the positions that are hardest to replace. And that's,
the Giants could go out tomorrow and pay, Cook, who's a free agent, half the money and probably get almost the same player. Like 70% of what Saquon Barkley is, and
They
that
would
guy's
get
just on the street waiting.
another home run hitter. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like
And
I
he's,
I
you know,
get that. Yeah.
So
it's all like, I get how unfair it feels, but like no one was complaining about running back about safeties. No one was supporting safeties. They weren't having their own chats and doing their
no.
I mean, it's just sucks because there's at certain times and certain stages and evolution of a game, there's certain positions that matter more. Look at basketball, where it used to be the center was everything. Centers are so important, but now if you shoot threes, you're gonna get paid more, right? So I think that's
it's just the way sports is. Yep.
Well,
They did ask Omar Khan about spending too much on defense, and he kind of blew it off. I mean, I think it's a little overblown. The Steelers deny it too much too. I think they try to pretend it's not happening, which is too far the other way.
The evidence shows it's happening.
It's happening. But is it a coincidence? The more you think about it, is it a coincidence? It's just defensive players coming up for their second contracts?
It's just the timeline.
Or is it strategy?
It's the timeline.
It's timeline now. I don't think it was that 10 years ago. I think 10 years ago, they in Tomlin, and even maybe 5 to 10 years ago, it was offense second, defense first. Now I think they've invested in the draft, but you will know very soon when these second contracts come up for a lot of these offensive guys, where their heart is. And I think that's right now I think it is timing, but I think 5-10 years ago I really do think they put more on the defense and on the offense, and they expected to carry to Ben to carry them a little bit and create some magic, and they didn't have to invest much more in that. Defense wins games.
I don't think it's any secret the Steelers prioritize defense even today. They always have. That's the way the franchise works. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I chuckled a little bit. This is the last thing on Con, we'll get into it. They asked him about, scoring, and he said, I feel comfortable winning 40-point games or 12-point games. And I'm like, easy, big fella. You don't want to get into 40-point shootouts with this team.
Yeah.
That's not the route.
Nor dream of being able to do that.
Yeah, you have to have evidence of scoring 40 points in the past 30, 40 years. It's
right.
34 years.
Like did they score over 35 this past season?
I don't. I think they cracked 30. Huh?
Was 31 the highest?
I think so. They cracked 30 once, I believe, and that was it.
Yeah, that's what I
remember. Time was on the 30.
Yeah.
So they don't want to. I don't think I would have phrased my answer that way because I don't think there's anybody that believes the Steelers can win a 40-point. If the other team scores 40, lights out.
Yeah.
Let's move on to next week because it's not
for now. Let's hope that they get a little better.
23.
2023
anyway. I think unless Kenny has this giant leap, which is I guess possible, but I wouldn't go to Vegas and plop some large amounts of money on it.
They better hope he takes a leap this year because
he'll take a leap. But is he going to take a leap to where they're scoring 35 points a game or 30 points a game? I don't
even have an offense that you can do that with. If you need,
that's the other point.
You need big plays to do that, and I don't.
Agreed.
I don't know if they've got those guys that give them big plays.
Agreed, 100%. All right, let's talk about camp today. A lot of news today. I didn't think it would be this much. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. Deontay Johnson had a little injury scare, hobbled off for a little while, but he came back. I guess he's okay. That's good news.
Grabbed his knee. Like,
that's
the last thing you want to see. Like, no.
Absolutely.
It's a nice catch.
On a good catch. Yeah, exactly. DeMarvin Leal playing both on the line and outside linebacker today. So this is the direction they're going to go.
Yep.
He's going to be
a tweener, man. He's going to go back and forth.
Yeah. It worries me because I don't know.
I'm with you.
How many reps he's going to get doing it? They've got a great defensive line. They've got great linebackers. So, how many reps is he going to get being the jack of all trades, master of none, thing? And
Davis all over again.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's Sean Davis all over. It feels like that. It feels a lot like that.
Yeah,
which is not good. Elijah Riley had an interception today. Dark horse to make not even a dark horse. I think he's got a good shot at making the roster. Maybe even the slot.
Who threw that
in the mix for the slot? Our boy Mason Rudolph.
No, they did say it was probably Darnell Washington's fault. I know we don't want to sour on Darnell. I think it was just a rookie running a wrong direction kind of thing.
Wrong route or something.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen. You don't make so much of interceptions this early in camp, but it's just.
Oh, I thought somebody said it was an ill-advised throw by Mason. But
I mean, would that shock anybody?
I'm not there, so I'm just going off what people write. So
that wouldn't shock anybody.
If
but
you got your Mason Rudolph haters writing it, then you're gonna get the negative stuff. But
I don't know if we talked about it, but man, Mason Rudolph tucked his tail between his legs and came crawling back. Right? I mean,
I can't believe it. Like,
wow. I'm still shocked he came back.
Yeah,
he had 0 offers. That's what that tells us. He had 0 offers anywhere else.
That's probably the truth of it, right? Because you think almost anywhere would be preferable after all the shit he's gone through.
Right.
Everyone knew
I thought for sure he'd want a new fresh start.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm him, I'd rather play in the USFL. I mean, seriously, even being mean about it, like just like reinvent yourself, right? Go.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
Yes.
What are you doing being third string in Pittsburgh again? You're not helping your career out at all.
Ron, you need to be his agent, bro.
Yeah.
Like you could tell him that, bro.
Yeah,
go
Mason,
rebuild yourself.
Take a quarter of the money for the USFL.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem, right? Like,
I know, but I mean, probably,
you just
dominate.
Go to the USFL, unfuck yourself, and then come back.
Grow some hair, grow a mustache.
Yeah. Change everything.
Yeah.
Another guy who's going to be jack of all trades, Patrick Peterson, I read today, got the first slot corner snap. So
he moved in. I think Dawson was there too, which is the guy that we really need to be watching out for in that slot spot.
Yeah, we've talked about that on the podcast, all of us, that Omar Khan mentioned him by name.
Yeah. And I think
somebody asked him early on.
Spot, and then Peterson moved down.
Yeah.
I think. So interesting.
This thing's got a million ways it can play out with the secondary at this point. Yeah. We just got to wait and watch because so many moving parts. Neil Casey, who knows what that's going to go on with that.
Did you guys? What's that?
I just worry they're going to tinker too much with it. Like I like set pieces. I like people knowing what in there.
I know.
You're not going to like the secondary this year then, because I think they're going to move stuff around.
No, I'm going to go crazy. Like,
did you see that JPJ was in stride with Calvin Austin III and broke up a play today?
Yeah,
I was going to bring up Calvin Austin next because I have 2 or 3 reporters like Farabaugh and Kazora said Calvin Austin had a bad day today. 3 or 4 drops.
Tough catches. They were tough catches, but not catches. Right. I mean, these are catches you want a guy like you want him to make. And that the scary part is I'd rather it would be Pickens or Deontay dropping balls because we know they will catch them. Austin's the big mystery of this offense. He's the biggest mystery of this offense from where I sit, besides Pickett, maybe. And if he's not making the plays, there's no one else who's going to make those big plays. That's what scares me.
Yeah. I mean, he's dropping balls that you need him to catch in games. Those deep balls that are a little tougher to catch, but
he's not running away from guys, which is again, it's what day one we could.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to overreact, but you want to see good days.
Yeah,
Calvin Austin, you need him.
But I'm surprised he didn't run away from Peterson. He didn't run away from JPJ. Both those guys are fast, but not like elite speed guys. Yeah. So that's
what you worry about. They said the foot injury is completely healed, but if he lost half a step, then he's essentially useless because everything in his game is speed. If he doesn't have elite speed at 5'8", 175, he's going to have a tough time. He's not a route runner. Doesn't have size.
Yeah.
He has to rely on that speed if he's going to have any impact on this offense whatsoever.
So like what we said, it's day one. We don't overreact or take things too far, but not a good start. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
What else do I have here? I guess Nate Herberg was given LaRaven Clark fits.
Yeah.
Pass rushing.
At edge?
So, at edge. So is LaRaven Clark that bad? Is Nate Herberg that good?
Which way do you go with this stuff is always... and do you feel good about that or do you feel bad about that? Do you feel good that
right.
Looked good or bad that Clark didn't look good, right? I don't know. Yeah, it's really hard.
You can't even be happy about the situation.
You really can't because you don't know. I mean, it would be great if Nate Herberg could actually be a rotational edge guy. That would be fantastic. They need it.
If he was an
that'd be
effective
great,
pass
but-
rusher, then that'd be huge.
And they can move him
I-
around a little bit too, because he can move
Yeah.
inside a little bit too. Yeah, it's almost like that Chad Brown kind of guy, I guess.
You brought up Duke Dawson. He took a lot of first team snaps at slot corner, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how he did, honestly, but I know he was there.
Yeah, I didn't get really a report how he did, but
You
he
said
did take a lot of
first team
snaps.
snaps?
Yeah, first team snaps. I mean,
The slot.
Peterson
Really?
was the first one to play it, but he was with
Yeah.
the first team. According
Wow,
to I think it
okay.
was Parabon.
I didn't catch that earlier. That's impressive.
And because Peterson's on the outside, so they, when Peterson's on the outside and they go, I guess nickel or whatever, they bring him in, and he's your slot guy right now. But again, they're going to try different faces out there, but that's the guy they started with, and that's the guy that Dave, you're right. That's the guy that Omar talked about. So they seem to be high on him.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Alex Kozora tweeted out the return line, the punt return line today, and they'll never solve this problem. It was Gunnar Olszewski, Deontay Johnson, DeMonte Casey, Alfonso Graham, Calvin Austin, and George Pickens. And then I guess later on, Bird got in there. But
I was gonna say I was waiting to hear him.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be his
DeMonte
thing.
Casey?
No, not Casey. I meant Bird.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, why is DeMonte Casey
I
even in these lines?
I
And Gunnar first? Oh, Gunner's
he
gonna make
said,
this team,
"Don't
right?
doubt me." People were doubting him. Yeah, bro, you sucked last year. That's why we're doubting you. Like, I don't know why Kazi for entertainment for the fans maybe watching. I don't know.
He's good. I mean, he's not a bad guy with the ball. When he had all those picks, he
That's a good point.
interesting as a run, with the ball in his hands.
Does he have a background doing that before, like maybe in college or something? Like,
I didn't have time to look it up, but I don't.
I
think
just
so. It doesn't come to mind.
because there are a lot of defensive backs that have that history of doing that.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
but Tomlin tends to not want to put defensive players back there, right? He kind of shies away
usually
from
not,
it.
no, but I don't know.
This return game is a mystery to me.
Casey I'm looking it up now. Casey returned 5 punts his whole college career.
Oh, okay.
and nothing in the pros, right? So
None of
maybe
it.
he's in a.
This is
Maybe he's the
always a
emergency
black
guy.
hole for us.
It is.
And I can never know why.
They don't prioritize it, and it
No.
kind of boggles my mind. If you're a defense and run the football guy, field position's got to be important to you, right? I mean,
You think
return guy.
I think Gunner. I think they thought they had in Gunner. I mean, for good reason.
They did,
true.
But Gunner was ineffective. I mean, he was.
Yeah, I don't know how much more evidence you need that Gunner isn't the guy. I don't know why. It's a mystery why he fell off the cliff like that last
Maybe
season.
Bird will be the guy. I mean, but
That's
that-
the hope, right?
but that creates a lot of weird issues with your roster because Bird is not like
He's
Where
nothing else.
What else? is he
Yeah,
gonna
you're
do?
right.
Yeah.
He offers nothing else, really. You're right.
not this stage in his career anyway. So
Right.
I mean, you swap him out for Gunner, I guess, but then that creates someone you don't probably want to see leave will have to leave on that receiver.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you're right.
So
And you don't want to see Deontay Johnson returning punts at all. That's just an injury waiting to happen. I mean, I'm sure he could be okay at it, but the injury risk is just.
if this is a huge if Austin really turned out to be a strong receiver, like we felt good about him, kind of receiver.
You don't want him returning either, right?
No, I would say then I'm cool with Deontay Johnson returning punts.
Hmm.
At least, like, when they did. Remember they did that with Antonio, right?
Yep.
Where in key situations
Yeah.
he returned punt. Treat Deontay that way, right? So he's not your all-time, your full-time guy, but like when you need a spark or when you need something, he's that guy to me. So why not do that?
I don't have a problem with that.
If we thought Deontay Johnson could be a home run threat as a punt returner, I'd say yes, but I don't know if we have any evidence that he's.
He was
That
pretty
kinda guy.
dynamic as a return guy. They just
I
took
guess.
him off there because he was a starting receiver, I think. But
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Is Calvin Austin the third not a return guy?
Yeah, he was on that list, but I don't know if I want to see him return punts either because, like I said, he's 5'7", 180.
Yeah, but I mean, if
He
the
did
kid
return
is
punts in
fast,
college.
I mean, it could
He-
work.
Yeah,
As a punt returner, I think it's as a kickoff returner, you're running through wedges and holes where you're going to get decapitated. You're going to get crushed.
Yeah.
And it's 5'8", you're going to get planted like a seed. I mean, but if you are in punts, I think it's a whole different thing. You don't have that dynamic. It's more open field. I think he's safer as a punt returner. And I think they've got kick returners. Again, none of them are like exciting, but you've got McFarland who could kicks, and I don't know.
And it's just do we throw Anthony McFarland in there at some point to see because if he wins the third running back, he's got the speed. Maybe he becomes. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't at this point. I'd love to see him scoop somebody up off a roster that could return.
It sounds like this preseason they're going to be working on that a lot. Then figuring out who's going to be the guy, because again, it's every year it's the same shit. There's always that. So yeah, that's
that old saying: if you have a lot of guys, you don't have anybody, right?
Yeah.
If you got a lot of guys vying for a job, you really don't have anybody. So we'll have to. The return game has been a pet peeve of mine with this team since AB did it.
Yep.
And even when AB was doing it, it made me nervous because he was the best wide receiver on the team and maybe in the league. I thought that was risky, but at least he was good at it.
Right.
They haven't had anybody since then.
I don't know if it's overblown, the worry about returning punts and injuries. I don't recall seeing like an excessive amount of return guys getting hurt versus any other role.
Yeah, but if they're a key guy on the team, you just put them on the field one more time.
Yeah, but you could argue that's the time when they can have the most one-on-one impact, right? They're not relying on anyone else, right? Well, I mean, they're not, they don't need a good pass, right? If they get the ball in their hands, they got an open field, and if they're good if they're good enough that you're worried about losing, they're good enough to have an impact in that role. So,
but you're not wrong. I mean, when Antonio Brown was doing it, I mean, he was destroying teams.
Yeah.
Whether it was
devastating. Anytime you get a return touchdown, it's devastating.
Right. So I mean, it was a double-edged sword for teams with him. He was putting up points on offense and on the return game.
Yeah, I think people forget how good a punt returner he was. He was incredible.
Excellent. So yeah, the theory of going that route, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, just put somebody good back there, I guess, and
just anybody.
That's the bottom line, right? Just put somebody good. If it's got to be Deontay or Calvin, it's got to be. What else do we got? Nick Farbaugh posted his losers for today are guys that didn't have the best game practices. Calvin Austin, Trey Norwood, and Raven Clark were three guys that struggled today. That's not a surprise, I guess, with Raven Clark and
what happened
Trey
to
Norwood.
Norwood looked so good his rookie season.
I think he just flashed a little bit and tricked us all. He's a 7th round pick.
Yeah,
I know, but he did so well his rookie year. Like
he did the first half, and then I think he tapered off. I don't know.
Yeah, I
think teams scouted him. Teams figured him out a little bit. It's not who you are when they first see you. It's when they understand who you are.
Can get some tape on you?
Justin, and I think he's a okay guy, okay player, but you don't want a guy you don't want him in the slot if you can help it, right? So,
yeah. And Nick's winners today were Elijah Riley, Joey Porter Jr., Nick Herbig, and Anthony McFarland.
Good.
I would like to see Anthony McFarland make that third running back spot. He gives them something
really
they don't have
on a wheel route, and really nice throw by Pickett. Yeah.
Again, this offense. They should be looking for ways to get him in space, and they don't. You have a weapon that has a clear skill set, and you don't try to take advantage of it.
Right. I agree. I agree with all the different players, but I think I go back to guys like Mendenhall, where even Troy Edwards way back when the offense has a certain system, and no matter who they bring into it, you play within that system, and I don't feel often that they take those guys and utilize them into their best ability and into what they did in college. Like they took Mendenhall and tried to turn him into Bettis, and he was a West Coast offense back.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit what they did to Najee too, where Najee, he's a big physical back, but he was out in space a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And catching passes out in space. And he's caught a lot of passes, but they were checkdowns. They weren't like a lot of dedicated plays designed to get him out in space, punishing backs. And I think you're right. The thing with McFarland they could do that more with Deontay too. I mean, get these guys out in space where they could really do the damage they're proving that they can do. Instead, they're running them, back to the line of scrimmage on routes where they're not going to do damage. They're doing things that don't seem to line up to what they do best.
This offense and design, we've gone back and forth with it a million times. Is it Tomlin? Is it Canada? It's both of them. But now it's even more clearly defined that this is what they want to run. They want to be conservative. They want to be this. So now, I don't know. It's just going to be more of the same.
Yeah. I do think they'll take more chances. I don't think it'll be quite as dry as our fears are leading us to at the moment. I do think it'll be a little bit more open. I really do. I think they open up camp with a deep pass and then a pass down the middle to Freiermuth.
Yep.
Could be a little bit of a statement. I think that, I don't think it'll be the sum of all of our fears kind of thing. I think it'll be a little bit
worst case scenario.
Yeah. Kenny said that he said that he'll let him have more input, right? I think he said that.
You did. You're right.
So that's one of the big hopes for us is that Kenny takes that leap and decides to take more ownership, and then he pushes back a little bit on some of the calls and proves to them that he can play, and they open it up a little bit.
And they have to let him make some mistakes. They have to be willing to do that.
Well, that's when Tomlin says the turnover thing.
Yeah,
it scares me that they don't want to let him open up and possibly make mistakes. But comments like that scare me. When that's on the top of his mind, when they ask him a question like that, that's discouraging.
I do think all those playoff losses where you could attribute most of those losses to turnovers, though I would disagree. I think that's an easy way out of what happened in those playoff games because the defense.
It's an easy way to explain how bad the defense played.
Yeah,
on a lot of those playoff games.
100%. Yeah, I think. But I think he looks at those turnovers and says that's everything I don't want to have happen anymore. So that's my worry is that he, it's almost like he's snake bitten now. He's got PTSD from those turnover playoff games, and now he's going too far the other way. I don't know. He knows more than me. I don't know.
On a little sidetrack, have you guys watched any of that quarterback show on Netflix?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Some of the Chiefs stuff where they show inside practice and how they come up with some of the plays. It's like my jealousy rate meter is on 100. Watching them, develop these trick plays and the way. Granted, Mahomes makes everything easier, obviously, but they have such a different approach to offense than this.
Yeah, they let the players come to them, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. One of the best plays last season was Patrick Mahomes' idea, and they worked through it in training camp, and they used it in the game and got a touchdown. It's like
they really embraced the idea of deception and of keeping defenses on their toes, and that's almost like counter to Pittsburgh's notion of we will outwill you and out physical you, and and I don't know. I think deception's essential, in today's football. But I'm not saying we don't do that the Steelers don't do that as an offense, but I don't think they do it nearly enough.
Yeah.
All right. You guys got anything else? Anything I missed on any players that you read about that I didn't get?
Just one
for today.
Go ahead.
Other than Moore's getting the start at left tackle.
I should have mentioned that. Yeah.
The first team.
But that's not surprising, right? I mean, you got to make.
No, but I mean, just if people were speculating that the rookie was going to get first team, it looks like he's not.
Yeah.
Would it shock anyone if Dan Moore started week 1 against San Francisco?
No, not at all. I think the fact he's going to start.
I mean, you look at guys like Faneca. A lot of the best offensive linemen on in recent history that were drafted round 1 didn't start. Searcy didn't start. Faneca didn't start. It wouldn't shock me. There's one comment that Tomlin made about Rodney Williams, who's the fourth tight end, and he couldn't finish practice because of I think the heat, and he was very pointed. Tomlin was about you don't make the team if you don't get the reps.
Yeah,
think he that was an interesting comment. It's a hell of a tone setter. Let's put it that way. Especially
I wouldn't want
on the outside.
That's not a good first day
No.
if the heat gets you.
Yeah, that might be the worst
Tomlin
of everyone we've talked about today because
Right. You're already on Tomlin's bad side. That's not good.
Day one.
Day one. Yikes.
Yeah.
We want to make plans elsewhere. Start thinking about your future somewhere else.
Yeah.
I did read that Tomlin was gushing about Darnell Washington. Spent a lot of time next to him, coaching him up, and I think Tomlin loves himself, Darnell Washington. And listen, if they were making a tight end in the lab for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it would be Darnell, right? I mean, big, physical, mauling type tight end. I kid all the time about Tomlin and his, loving a certain way and having dreams, arousement over certain things and philosophies and players. And Darnell Washington is one of those guys that gets Mike Tomlin going in the morning.
Dude's huge. I mean, he is.
I love the pick when they made it. You guys know I love Darnell Washington from right in the middle of the season on.
I'm telling you now, if that kid can catch the ball, look out.
Yeah.
Like, we know he's going to block and move guys from point A to point B, but if that kid's got hands, they've got something here.
The one comment I will make for you, Dave, because I know you'll appreciate this and be really happy to hear it, is the guy that McFarland beat on the wheel route was Holcomb.
Oh boy!
Oh Jesus!
Oh boy! You mean the answer to the coverage linebacker question?
I mean, to be fair, it was a long wheel route downfield, but just saying.
In theory, Anthony McFarland's a bad matchup for just lining inside linebacker.
Yeah,
he's pretty fast. So,
and
he's not.
Khan did say that he was not against bringing in another linebacker. He didn't mention that. He said he's not. He's still looking at the. But I mean, there's Quan Alexander's out there, right? So I mean, it's not like there's this guy that waiting to be cut. He's out there, and you would think the answer. So,
could you see them bringing back Miles Jack?
I hope not.
Oh, you don't want that to happen.
I don't.
You think he's done?
Holcomb and he's Roberts.
He's done?
He's Holcomb and he's Roberts. He's not a coverage guy. He's not anymore.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
If someone gets hurt, sure, and then you need to plug him in,
right?
But not if he's not. I mean, they need a cover guy. The only guy out there that they have at linebacker, Holcomb, is potentially a guy. He hasn't shown it, but he's got the attributes to say that he may be able to.
He's got a little bit of athleticism, but
I think Tanner Muse is the only guy, and he's never done it. He's never ever played linebacker in the NFL, but he played in college. He was like a hybrid linebacker safety kind of guy.
Yeah,
and he has good speed. I think he ran 4.3 in the combine, so he's
a guy to maybe think about them plugging in there, but he's never done it, and he's been in the NFL for a while, so it's not like
it's something we're probably not going to see.
I use Neal at linebacker on passing downs,
but he's not great in coverage either. I mean, maybe he's better.
Well, yeah, it's true. Right? He really isn't. You're right.
He may be an average cover safety, but that still equates to a good coverage linebacker, maybe, right?
Yeah,
so
not good, not great. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
The inside linebacker is still definitely the weakest link on defense.
But when I saw 55 jumping up in the pass going like 5 feet over his head into McFarland's hands, I thought of you.
Yep. No news, good or bad, on Hakeem Butler. That's the guy I'm kind of holding out. Hope does something.
They're not going to get a lot of opportunities, so they're going to. He'll have to do something early, like all these guys. They have to do something early, build some momentum that they want to see more of these guys. Someone's got you have to shine, and there's 1 or 2 opportunities you get, and then you get more. So it's early. We'll see.
Yep. Overall, though, good day for the Steelers. Like we said, they stayed healthy. No injuries. It's all about Kenny Pickett, right? Kenny Pickett needs to take a step forward, and everything else will fall into place.
Agreed. I mean, if he turns out to be very good, this team should win a playoff game. That's my.
I would say yes, except this AFC is so loaded that there's a world where he could play good and they wouldn't even make the playoffs. I mean,
honestly, it's going to take some major injuries to some of these teams for I think the Steelers to be there, if that makes sense.
I don't think I hear it. I think their schedule's easier. If he's playing very good, they should be able to beat. Their defense is good. If the offense can, I think if he's playing very good, they can score, 24 to 30 points. That range, which for their style of offense and for the defense they have, should win them most games.
True.
So, they don't win the division. I don't think, unless to your point, there's like some crazy injuries. But I think they can do a little bit of damage, and I think they're only going to get better as the year goes on, which is something to keep in mind too. This is not a team. Yeah. This is a team that might start off slower than people.
A lot of turnover. Yeah, there's a lot of new faces. Yeah,
and I think people would be very frustrated early with this team more than they realize because it's, Pickett's still kind of new, and there's a lot of new faces, like you said. So,
hey, real quick.
Yep.
Off the top of my head, we faced the 49ers first game, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you guys see Brock Purdy is probably going to be good to go?
Yeah.
Is he? Yeah.
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 So that'll probably be the week 1 starter against the Steelers. That's who they will see.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fascinating game.
It is.
Because the 49ers are a very good football team, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a good test right off the bat.
Yeah.
Player for player, they probably have the most talent in the league when you think about it.
They are.
They got weapons on offense. Their defense is great. Yeah. They get any kind of quarterback play at all.
I mean, that's the kind of game where they come out and say we want to control the clock so that they can't score a lot of points against our defense, which for me is like the complete opposite. Like they're gonna score points. I don't care how good our defense is. That team is loaded.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Is it Boza for them sitting out over contract dispute too?
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe. I haven't heard.
I think
for some reason I came across a bunch of 49ers.
It's the San Diego
I think San Diego Bosa.
Oh, that was okay. I couldn't remember which one it was. I was like, man, double issues that the team we're facing week 1. I was hoping at least, but guess not.
Yeah, no such luck.
Yeah. Tough way to start the season. That's a tough team to.
Oh, dude.
Is it at home?
I think
I believe it is. Yes. Yeah, it is.
I think it is a home game.
The first time they got a home opener. And
there's that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does help.
Yep.
Yeah, but I do worry about the number of new faces, the number of new stuff in general. That's going to be like that whole secondary is going to be new to one another. Just about
2 inside linebackers
all new, and they got to go up against McCaffrey and that offense. It's going to be problematic.
Yeah.
And we know the coach in San Francisco's head coach is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. We have plenty of time to worry about that game.
Yeah.
That's all I have, unless you guys got anything else. Good first day.
That covers it.
Super excited. Training camp started finally.
Yeah.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at SteelersSanct16. Email the show at daver@SteelersSanctuary.com. Ron, you got anything for interview? I saw you had Kevin Colbert. Big get for you there, huh?
Yeah, I got Kevin earlier, I guess late last week, and trying to get a few others. But I always have new guys coming up, new interviews coming up. But yeah, Kevin it was a really interesting interview with him. He's doing a lot of work with retired players, so and trying to really help out some guys. So it was a good talk with him, and we'll just keep them coming.
All right, Dave, you want to give me your stuff and we'll get out of here?
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at m_Corb. I'm also doing a Hodgepodge Nut This podcast for the Pittsburgh Pirates. You can catch me on for this podcast. I'm also on TikTok at Steelers Sanctuary Podcast or Still Sanct Pod.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. And thank you for listening to the Steelers Sanctuary Podcast.
See you guys.
See ya.